So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Maryland Recycling Works presentation of reuse options in Maryland. Glad to have everyone here. We have a great presentation coming up, and we will have several folks on our program, including Thomas Nielsen from Goodwill, Carol Ferns from Habitat for Humanity, Eric Lawn from the Howard County DIY Center, Leslie Kirkland from Loading Dock, Ian Edwards from the Maryland Department of Aging, Durable Medical Equipment Program, and Nancy Hoshkis from Scrap Creative. Before we go to these folks, though, I just want to ask you to mark your calendars. We have another webinar coming up on Thursday, April 27th. Upstream and Don't Waste Durham are going to talk about the programs that they have been running on the reuse side primarily, and some really fascinating work that's being done to take materials that typically would have gone into landfill or more likely been used as single-use items, and said why not use them multi-use and clean them up and reuse them. And then, of course, on Monday, June 12th, we have a great conference coming up at the Turf Valley Resort and Conference Center in Ellicott City. If you haven't signed up yet, please do so. I think we got an excellent program there. You can check it all out on the web. For the webinar itself, we have opportunities for you to chat or raise your hand and ask questions. We're going to hold the questions until the end of the 6 presentations so we can get through them all. Each presenter is going to do about 5, 6, 7 minutes maybe around their program, and then we'll have an opportunity for you folks to talk about or ask about what you'd like to know more about. The webinar is going to be recorded. It will be posted on the MRN website, and we'll also send it out via email to our entire mailing list of 1,000 or so folks. And I assume that you guys, because you're registered, that you're on that list. So you'll get that, and you'll be able to share that with anyone, share it far and wide. The more, the merrier. We're really just trying to spread the news about the opportunity to look at the other 2 R's, reduce and reuse, not just the recycling R. We think all 3 are equally important. So, obviously, we couldn't do this without the help of our members, and these members we especially want to highlight here: our patrons and our sustaining members whose financial support really keeps us going. But every member counts, whether you're a patron or a citizen supporter, doesn't matter. We need and appreciate whatever financial support you can provide. As you probably are all aware, the folks in Annapolis are having fun this year with all kinds of interesting pieces of legislation, and we're doing our best to make sure that legislation really does the best thing for the recycling community in the state and really helps us drive all 3 R's effectively throughout our area. So with that said, I'd like to turn the microphone and the screen over to Thomas from Goodwill. Thomas?
Okay, moving right along. So I'm still with Goodwill Industries of the Chesapeake. My name's still Thomas Nielsen. As I had mentioned, my first 6 years with the organization were spent in retail. Getting a sense of the operation at that level. The last 2 years, I've been in the role of Director of Operations, responsible for our transportation and salvage businesses. Our Goodwill organization has been in business since 1919, so over 100 years now. For us, our goal is to break down barriers to employment for our participants. The biggest and most tangible, mission item is going to be the Excel Center that we're opening up in September of this year. It's an adult high school that's going to be in Baltimore, the first of its kind in the state. Not the first of its kind in general. There are several Goodwills that have implemented these schools in various states. We'll be the first in Maryland, but this is a huge achievement for us. We've worked with participants on different levels. Something as basic as resume building. We have our own staffing service. Again, really just trying to get people to work. The means of that is the donations we take from the public. We have 30 retail locations, all with donation sites. Then we have 2 dedicated site trailers. Most commonly, we're associated with our retail stores. That's our first level to turn our donations into revenue and drive our mission. We also have an e-commerce format. Now, where I'm at, and forgive me if I seem like I'm out of my element, because I very much am. Most of my days are spent jumping on and off of forklifts and scrambling around our warehouses. Sustainability has been a big topic for us in 2023. Obviously, to be the best steward of our donations, we need to minimize waste the best we can. This is a partnership we began last year with Trex Decking. If anyone's familiar with Trex decking boards, it is a proprietary blend that's about 50% shredded plastic film. A lot of the donations we receive are in plastic bags, so partnership made a lot of sense. This is the finished product. We then bale those plastic bags and they're sold to Trex, and that comprises about 50% of what makes up one of their trekking deck boards. For us, our biggest commodity is salvage clothing. It's not the greatest picture, I apologize, but what you're looking at is probably 60,000 pounds of baled clothing. Those will end up on sea containers and literally sent all over the globe. Last year, we took in over 36 million pounds of donations. If I had to estimate, probably 20 million pounds of that was clothing. Not all of it is sellable at the store level, so we have a huge responsibility to keep it out of landfills, reuse it, repurpose it to the best of our ability. Beyond that, we have a partnership with Baltimore Scrap. That open top container on the left will get filled with loose scrap metal picked up by them. The one on the right is an open top container for our partnership with Georgetown Paper Stock. Same premise. They pick up the loaded cardboard. It's about a ton of cardboard per container, and it's recycled and repurposed through them. Beyond that, I'm supposed to tell a funny or interesting story about an unusual item collected. I could tell you in 8 years, I've seen just about everything under the sun. Interesting may not sum it all up. Disgusting, peculiar, a lot of that. The coolest thing I've ever laid hands on, and it was within a month of us starting to have an online presence with our e-commerce business. There were 2 Tiffany lamps made of metal. They were rusted out and they were picked out of a scrap metal box. They were listed on our e-commerce platform and sold for $14,000. Wow. We would have gotten at that time roughly 9 cents a pound for them. They probably weighed 3 pounds combined. So for me, I'm gonna remember that one. Beyond that, my hopes here today are to network and get with people that can give me ideas and maybe connections to be as environmentally responsible as we possibly can be. You know, we've always had that responsibility. I think we've turned a corner in the last 12 months. Still a ways to go because of the volume we deal with, and there's just so many commodities that are tough to move, particularly the tech stuff. Because of all the components they're comprised of. So I'd like to thank everybody for their time this afternoon and look forward to hearing from everyone else.
Thanks, Thomas. Carol Ferns with the Carroll County Habitat for Humanity, you are up.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Carol. I'm with Restore. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, indeed.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'm with Habitat for Humanity of Carroll County. We've been in business since 2001, but the Restore opened a couple of years ago in March 2021. We are a nonprofit, and our mission is to support our Carroll County residents in finding a pathway to home ownership. And we also help now with significant repairs to homes in order to keep people in their homes for aging purposes. Let me go to the next slide. We collect all types of things for sale in our restore. Building materials, furniture, housewares, tools, you name it, pretty much we take it. I also will show you a lot of the repurposing that we see done. And a lot of our customers love to come and shop with us and then take these wonderful finds that they purchase and redo them. This is an example of one of them. They took an old dresser and made it into a children's dresser with the Lego theme. So that was really a lot of fun. Restore receives 95% of our inventory in donations. Of course, in Carroll County, that greatly reduces the landfill waste, which makes everybody happy here because we have very limited space for those types of things. We are excited about it because it gives us some really nice donations that we can sell and then use those proceeds in order to build homes or repair homes. The donations can be dropped off at our store, or we also do free pickups. And then we also have a third-party organization that works with us to go and do very large pickups in people's homes. We get new materials as well as used materials, and we get donations on a daily basis. We are very fortunate to have a 24,000 square feet facility here in Westminster. It is one of the largest ones on the East Coast, and we're really excited to be part of that for sure. Our items, when they come in as donations in any way, shape, or form, are all checked in. They're inspected and cleaned. We also sanitize them as per the federal and governmental guidelines in the state or the federal government. Any electrical or motorized equipment is tested, marked as tested, and fully functioning in order to be put out on our floor for sale. If we do have some unique things that people may like to tinker with, we do have some retired gentlemen that like to play with speakers and things. So we do have those in the back every once in a while. And then if they come in and say, do you have anything that needs some work, then we can negotiate with them for those purposes. Our items are always priced and displayed in the restore. And then the restore is open to the public Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Once everything's purchased, as I said, the revenue goes to Carroll Countyans. It's not a handout. We're not just going to give them a new home or make these repairs and say, there you go. All the homeowners who apply and are accepted into these programs are required to provide a significant amount of volunteer hours to help build or repair these projects. So, for example, we just finished a small 2-bedroom, 1-bath house for a single parent and their child. They ended up putting in about 1,500 hours to help renovate that facility for them, and we will be turning that over to them next week. I also give you another example here of a furniture repurpose that one of our customers did and shared their photos with us. So we always love that as well. How do people reuse what they find and restore? Well, they can use it just as it is, as a bed or whatever. They can also build something new because we do sell a lot of building materials, bricks, wall repairs, items. We have carpeting, tiles, you name it, windows, doors, we've got it. Things also get upcycled, as you'll see in the photos that I've included in my presentation here. So this is an example of a fireplace that was brought in and purchased. And then on the bottom left, you'll see what it looked like when it got into the person's home. They added a electric fireplace and repainted and redecorated, and it looks great. And then there's creative repurposing that we see a lot of with our organization. So we like to show you those, and you'll see those photos in here. This is one of my favorites. It's a large dresser that was repurposed into a storage bench and storage. And they did a really nice job on that one. Another one was this fun little end table. And then also somebody commandeered a post office cart and added a door and has a table. This one really got a lot of kudos at our organization. This bed got new life as a bench. And then this wonderful, really unique door got a nice paint job and is now, it's a door and a table, an outdoor table. Also, I love the fact that they used all this piping in their support as well. So that's really a fun one. And then what you could do with a lamp, and then a new repurposing of a chair. This is basically how we build homes. We bring in donors who are wonderfully gracious with us, and we have a lot of wonderful things here to purchase. And our volunteers are really a key part of what we do. They're absolutely crucial to our operation. It saves a lot of things from going into the landfill, and we benefit from that by being able to sell these things and generate revenue to help people find stable homes. And this is just a little item to show how can you make a lamp build a home. And there you go. You bring it to the restore, it gets sold, it gets it's not put into the landfill, and it's added to the revenues that we generate in order to build the homes in our community. And that's all we say is shop, donate, and volunteer with us. That's really what we want, and that helps us all build homes.
Excellent, Carol. Thank you very much. Really appreciate the presentation, and we'll turn the mic and the screen over to Eric.
All right. Thank you. And thank you, everyone. Thanks for great presentations thus far. Oh, come on. I had you there. I was like, no. I had it. And then when I tried to make it larger, it blew it on me. We're seeing that though, right? You guys see my slides?
You see your slides, but not in slideshow version.
Yeah, I want it in the slideshow version.
There
we go. Okay,
Beautiful.
Awesome. All right, great. I'm Eric. I'm with the Howard County Library. You can see my title there. That essentially is a fancy word for I'm a librarian, and then I also do the DIY stuff here. So I teach a book club. I do a book club, movie discussions, which I'll do tonight, and I do other things here too, which I'll show you in here. As soon as I can switch the slide. There we go. All right. So we opened in 2018, and that's when I came here. DIY Center opened the same time. So it's kind of based on the tool lending library in Berkeley, California, and they have lent tools and other like kind of DIY household items for about 40 years, 1979. That's about it. You can see our opening there. We had a lot of people. It's great to borrow things. As Peter said to me yesterday, we're kind of in the reuse category here. I'm not in the recycle. So avoid individual expenses. It's a greener solution. You don't have to store the stuff. You don't have to maintain the stuff. Tools get obsolete, and a shared community resource. We also do classes. So as you can see, we provide folks the opportunity to learn to use the items. Our sewing machine and power tool things, the seminars we do are very, very popular. We've done tons of stuff. You guys can email me. I can tell you all about it. You can ask me, and also come see us. So any person that lives, work, or goes to school in Maryland can be a member and borrow stuff from us. Doesn't cost anything. You have to be 21. But I think we're going to reduce that to 18 because it makes a little more sense. You just have to sign a waiver, and that's about it. No cost. We do have fines on the items if you don't bring them back. And the question I get every time I do these presentations is, what if I break it? and books wear out all the time. And, you know, depends how many times it's circulated. So if it's tools wear out and we don't charge patrons, if it's a brand new tool and it looks like you dropped it off your roof and it's in 2 pieces when you bring it back, we're probably going to have to talk to you about paying for part of that tool. That's just a list of some of the stuff that we have. Our collection, so it's grown markedly since 2018. We have really expanded. We have had our busiest months ever recently after the pandemic. I think we're gearing up for probably our busiest spring. There are other tool lending libraries in Maryland, but none that are attached to a library system like us, or none that are free. I always say to people, I think I had this conversation yesterday, we're unlikely to get chainsaws or drain stakes, so I'm sorry about that. We don't have any gas powered stuff. It's all battery and plug-in stuff. And there's some of our circulation data. That's me building a table with someone right there. So our classes are for 18. We get pretty big numbers in there. A lot of times I'll do a power tool demonstration, just how to work basic tools. I get about 25 people in there. And I have to cap it at that. And for library programming, those are big numbers for us. So that's great. And my colleague Kelly does the sewing machine stuff as well as some other crafting stuff. Sewing machine, she can only do 6 at a time, fills up every time. We bring in other experts to do like our bike maintenance classes, and we have the Howard County Master Gardeners in here frequently. We have our YouTube channel where I make some videos periodically, so please check that out. Our response has been super, super positive. People are like, oh, what a great idea. You guys are so helpful. This is so great. They can't believe there's no charge, etc. Yeah, I would say we get complimented just about every day. People send us photos. Somebody made that wonderful cake out of one of our castle cake pans, which is not an easy endeavor. So our future, we hope to add more items. We hope to be more responsive to what kind of the community would like to see us lend. That's a balance because we get a lot of like, can you get lawnmowers and some of those maybe more maintenance items. We do have trimmers, we do have power washers. However, we want to make sure we have power tools and like project related stuff. So there are the tools. So having this conversation with Peter yesterday, again and again, I have the same conversation. I have a garage full of tools that I don't need. My neighbors had my dirt tamper for a year and a half, I think. And he said, I'm sorry, I still have this. I said, if I need to tamp some dirt, I'll give you a holler because I don't need to tamp dirt that often. So you can borrow it from us. Yeah, we want to expand our reach within the county. People are still finding out about us. We want to expand our partnerships, which is great. I'm here with you guys today. And that's about it. Come by and see us. There's our YouTube channel. Sign up for our newsletter if you want to see what we're offering. And funny stories, got it. Their library, we get a lot of characters here, so I probably have a ton of funny stories. But I do like sometimes I'll do brief seminars or something, and I often will teach people how to caulk. It's a great skill to have. A woman told me that she couldn't stop the caulk gun. If you've ever caulked, it's hard to know. If you don't know how to stop it, the caulk keeps flowing out. So she was very thankful that I showed her how to caulk correctly. She said, I didn't know what to do. I just threw the caulk gun out in my backyard and ran away from it because the caulk wouldn't stop coming out. I was like, I'll keep that. I'll keep that one in the memory bank.
Yeah, she needs a drain snake.
Yeah, right. Yeah. At least she threw it outside. At least she didn't make a caulk mess in her house. So yeah, we get a lot of feedback. People are happy to learn some basic skills in those things and happy to borrow the items from us.
Yeah, it's a great facility. For those of you who have not been there, I recommend getting there. The other thing that libraries offer that people are not aware of is they have free meeting space.
Correct.
A variety of different rooms with all the greatest tech out there. So it is pretty amazing what our tax dollars are paying for, much to the chagrin, I think, probably of Home Depot and Lowe's, but we won't go there. Anyway.
Thank you for saying that. And as Peter said, that's our facility. Yeah, come by. We have beautiful meeting spaces for nonprofits, which all you guys are, and beautiful like meeting rooms and everything. We have a beautiful branch now, so please stop by.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's turn the mic over then to Leslie. Leslie, you're on.
Right.
All right. Just you want to hit that play from start. Beautiful.
All right. Can everybody see my first screen?
Yes, indeed. Looks great.
I have to confess, I'm a technology troglodyte, and Peter was really helpful helping me get ready for this. So thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
So I'm Leslie Kirkland. I'm the executive director of the Loading Dock. We are a nonprofit building material reuse center. We are located in Southeast Baltimore City. We're in a 45,000 square foot warehouse, and we sit on about 3 acres of property that we tend to fill up with stuff. Since 1984, our mission has been to keep usable building materials out of the waste stream and make them available for residential and community improvement projects with a goal of saving people money on their project costs. Our operating goal has been to do this in a self-sustaining way, so that has kept us out of the constant fundraising business, which has been nice. You could build a house with what people throw away. That is our tagline. And a quote from one of our founding board members back in 1984. I think it pretty much sums up what we do. So we receive a mix of new and used building materials, so carpeting, cabinetry, bathroom components, lumber, doors, windows, hardware, lighting, anything that you would see used in a residential setting. We try to stay away from commercial items, but we do have a few of those that trickle in, such as carpet tile. This is an example of a cabinet set that has come to our warehouse and been set up and displayed for our clients. The cabinetry tends to come in used and all different styles and ages, which is nice because it helps us serve somebody who may want their dream kitchen all the way through to a landlord that just needs a small kitchen. People use cabinetry in their garages and laundry rooms, so they get used in a variety of ways. Toilets tend to come in used, and we can't keep enough of them in stock, which is kind of interesting. Lumber also is typically used when it comes to us. The nice part about that is you could get some different vintages. So if you need, lumber straight up 2x4s, that's one thing. If you want to get a little bit more creative, we do have some of the older vintage lumber. It could be 100 years old. People make mantles out of them and flooring, do different projects. Windows tend to come in new and used. One example of alternate use is we get a lot of antique window sashes, and people use them for art projects. The picture on the left, someone had put mirror on the back of one of them, and actually the reflection in it is a picture of a piece of artwork that one of our clients made out of some bifold doors. So I'd for right there. We get a lot of hardware. Sometimes it's coming off the product that we're bringing in, and we're trying to get a little bit better about harvesting that, because often people who get a cabinet set, they may not want the hardware, so they pitch it, so we'd rather make that available for other people. The paint in the right side of the screen is coming from, we used to collect remix buckets of paint from local landfills, and we stopped that a number of years ago. And we've been purchasing remix paint from a gentleman who, he's called Repaint USA, and some of you might be familiar with him. That's allowed us to have a higher quality remix paint, and he now collects paint from a number of the local landfills. So that's been a really neat partnership, and again, saves people a lot of money. Lighting will also come in at a mixture of new and used, and a little bit commercial and residential. So remodelers, contractors, individuals tend to be the folks that generate and donate the used materials to us. They're probably leftovers, mismeasurements, items being removed for replacement. This is an example of the kitchen before it was taken out that recently came in. It was gorgeous, and it also, we sold it pretty quickly. So all those appliances came to us also. And if you see the insulation in the walls in the back on the bottom left, that also came to us. So this came out of a house that was being torn down. There's that insulation again. So the wood flooring came out of the house. The contractors have to denail it, then they bundle it, then we palletize it and set it up in our warehouse so people can get a sense of the quality of the floor, sometimes the finish if it needs to be refinished or not. And so that's a good example of coming and going. Deconstruction house teardowns is a good source of lumber, kitchen and bath components, lighting, and a lot of outdoor material as well. So the following pictures will be examples of some of the variety of lumber. So the 2x6 tongue and groove cedar beams on the bottom left, they came out of a huge structure, and the beams to the right were in that structure also. A lot of people are using the tongue and groove beams or the boards at the bottom for garden beds since they can be used outside. So you get a lot of interesting uses with this stuff. And then there's true dimensional lumber that people need every day with some plywood and scrap metal in the one can. And these roll-off cans is how the product is coming to us from our deconstruction contractors. This is also an example of flooring and radiators coming out of a house teardown. And pavers, there's a limestone pavers on the right and flagstone on the left. The product also comes to us new, coming from ceramic tile and flooring distributors. So Dow Tile was an example of a regular donor of ours for regular deliveries of ceramic floor and wall tile, which has been really nice. There are a handful of flooring distributors that we received new carpet and linoleum from. Recently, in the past 2 years, Home Depot has a new distribution center nearby, and we've been very fortunate to get material from them. Sometimes it's been drywall, lumber, hardware. It's really been a nice mixture of product entering our warehouse. And we also work with a door manufacturer who sends us on a regular basis new bifold doors and interior slab doors. So here's an example of what some of our overstocked tile pallets look like, and we've got about 800 pallets similar to that in the building. This is an example of rolls of linoleum that have come in, and that's new. The larger rolls we will cut down on our carpet and linoleum machine, so they're more manageable, and same with carpeting. This carpeting, a lot of it came in large bolts, and we cut them down to 12 by 15 in smaller rolls, and that allows, excuse me, our staff and clients to be able to handle them a lot easier and transport them home. And that's a load of that drywall I mentioned. Excuse me. The picture of some of those new doors, and we have as many used doors. I think they multiply overnight in the warehouse. Once material come in, it is similar to what Goodwill had mentioned. The items are sorted, they're cleaned, they're inventoried, and then whatever there's room for on the floor is displayed and made available, and then excess inventory is overstocked in our warehouse. This is a picture of, on the left, we had a group of about 50 or 60 volunteers in January, and they helped us sort through over 50 totes of mixed product that just needed to be sorted same with same. So put all the plumbing together, all the electric together, et cetera, to then make it easier for us to inventory it and get it where it needs to go, whether it's the floor or overstock. And that's an example of
every time I chew, the thing's out of my ear.
Now it's organized on a pegboard.
Just this one, not that.
And then the picture on the right is an example. One of our staff made a design with some of the floor tile that we had a lot of. So some unusual donations, not as cool as that Tiffany donation, but so about 15 years ago, we were approached by a third-party company who was charged with finding a home or disposing of rubber roofing that was coming off of motel roofs. So we tried it, and our clients loved it. So we tend to get truckloads of reclaimed rubber roofing, and now recently TPO roofing, and people are using it for weed barriers, small shed projects, pond liners. So that's kind of fun. We also had some reclaimed Butler stone, which is native to Maryland, and I'll show you a picture of that in a second, and some commercial components, which I'll show you in a second. So to the left there is the rubber roofing, and to the right is the TPO roofing, and that TPO roofing is in bolts of about 9 foot by 20 feet. So it's a decent amount where somebody can actually do something with that. Here's that Butler stone. So this is a house tear down that then came to us in that roll-off can. It was dumped on our lot, and then we used volunteers to palletize it and distribute it to our clients. And our clients really loved having that. And it was just really nice that that did not just go into a rubble fill, because Butler stone is pretty special. These water valves, somebody dropped them off, and one of our staff was going to put them in the scrap can. I took them out, and we sold them as garden art, and they're all gone. So that was kind of a fun thing. And they're really cool. So our clients, our members, they, for the most part, are low to moderate income households doing their own projects like painting, putting in new flooring, bathrooms, kitchens, windows, doors. And then the remaining group is made up of small businesses, including contractors and landlords, community and religious organizations, and artists, kind of in that order. Again, most of the client projects are home improvement. Then there are some projects that are art projects. People will use broken mirror and tile for mosaics. Again, using those older window sashes. This picture here is roof slate that was used as wall tile. And then a lot of people will use vintage lumber for mantles, flooring, and tabletops. And the last few pictures I'm showing you are examples of some of our client projects. So all that tile in that picture came from our warehouse. I think that vanity may have also. This was a reclaimed vanity set, and this woman was so thrilled to find it because her tile was already yellow. So she found this vanity and cabinet and was thrilled. This woman's room, that's our remixed paint that she used, so that turned out looking really nice. And this is an outdoor paving project using our pavers. This is a chicken coop that was made out of reclaimed cedar siding. It was absolutely gorgeous. And then a person's patio made out of flagstone that you saw earlier in that roll-off can. And then into the arts, here are a few mosaic projects, just to give you a sample of what some of the folks use them for, or the broken tile in the mirror. And again, we love volunteers. We have about, I would say, 10 to 12 large group volunteers throughout the year coming from different places. And they're really instrumental in helping us with the labor-intensive, tedious sorting projects and property cleanup and material cleanup in the building. So we're always thrilled to have volunteers. And our last shot here, our operating hours are now Monday through Friday, 9 to 3. We're gearing up to open back up on the weekend. Prior to COVID, we were open 7 days a week. We scaled down, and now we're sort of ramping back up. And there you have it.
Excellent. Thank you, Leslie.
You're welcome.
Fascinating stuff, especially the creative use of bathroom devices. And speaking of devices, we're going to go for something completely different now with Ian from the Durable Medical Equipment crowd. Ian, the mic and screen are yours.
Great, thank you. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, indeed. Looks good.
Perfect, great. Thank you. Those are super interesting, and mine is almost the polar opposite. But I'm Ian Edwards. I'm from we're a Maryland State Department of Aging program. If you're not familiar, there's a Maryland State Department just for older adults, and this is one of our specific programs. We call it Maryland Durable Medical Equipment Reuse. I'm the director of the program. I'm also a physical therapist, and you'll kind of see how that fits into the mold here. So we are located in Prince George's County in Cheltenham, Maryland. We have our headquarters is a 51,000 square foot warehouse. We've been operating for just over 2 years. We really created most of our operations and our plans during the pandemic and been operating for about 2 years since. This is where the majority of our operations take place. I'll go into more detail later, but in short, this is where all of our donations of medical equipment are brought back to, where they're all processed, sanitized, repaired, and stored until they're redistributed here or at other locations. Now, the whole idea for this program initially was to be a mobility program, to provide a service that provides mobility equipment that's often expensive or difficult to attain for older adults or even pediatrics for children. So what we wanted to do is make this equipment more accessible. There are often many hoops to jump through or difficulties in attaining the appropriate medical equipment, whether it's simple things like canes or crutches all the way up to advanced equipment like home hospital beds, power wheelchairs, and power scooters, not only for uninsured adults who aren't able to attain this with any coverage and who will have to pay out of pocket, and much of this equipment is very expensive, but also individuals who have Medicare, Medicaid, or private insurance and even great coverage. Oftentimes there are delays in receiving the equipment they might need, even if they're approved for it. There are often supply chain delays. There are delays in approval from insurance companies. And then oftentimes when you need this equipment, you need it yesterday or you need it immediately. You can't wait the day or month or a week or even longer at times. So even those individuals who have good coverage, we knew that there were hoops to jump through. So the initial goal in creating this program was to provide a service that makes this mobility equipment more accessible. What we didn't initially realize was the tremendous positive environmental impact that we'd have, and this program was equally an environmental program. And we play a role directly in diverting this equipment from landfills, and I'll go into a little bit more detail as we go. But first, what is DME? DME, it's not very familiar unless you have it or use it. DME stands for Durable Medical Equipment. It's equipment that is defined as 1, it serves a medical purpose. 2, it's appropriate for use in the home, but often it's appropriate for use in the community as well. And 3 is durable and it can withstand repeated use. And this third item, the durable piece, is really where we want to hone in, because oftentimes this equipment is meant to last. Most of this equipment is meant to be used every day for a life of usually around 5 years. But many times individuals receive this equipment and they're only using it for recovery or rehab from an injury, or unfortunately, sometimes they receive the equipment and shortly after they pass away. And oftentimes people don't know what to do with this. They want to find a home, but there are minimal resources to reuse this equipment. So that's where we wanted to capitalize on this. And again, some more motivation to create this program. Just to hone in a little more on the equipment we provide. We break down the equipment into 2 categories. We have basic DME or simple DME, and then complex DME. The basic DME is probably what you're more familiar with. It's what you would see if you walked into a CVS or a Walgreens. It's the bent metal devices like canes, crutches, and walkers, along with the bathroom equipment like shower chairs, tub transfer benches, bedside commodes, and toilet safety rails. On the other hand, we have complex equipment. Complex meaning it's either a little bit more involved in terms of operating the equipment, or it requires additional training and fitting, or it's simply a little bit heavier and bulkier and a little bit more difficult to transport. That includes manual wheelchairs, power wheelchairs and powered scooters, home hospital beds, and Hoyer lifts or sit-to-stand devices. Now, as I mentioned, our main location is in Prince George's County, but as a State Department of Aging program, we serve the entire state. And as a way to do that, we've created multiple locations around the state. So we have the donation collection end, where we want to bring in the donations of durable medical equipment, sanitize, repair, process it, and then we want to distribute it back on the other end. In order to collect the donations, we have multiple means. We've partnered with many of the landfills around the state, denoted by the blue icons here. These are where we place 20-foot shipping containers at local county landfills or recycling centers, where individuals can arrive to donate durable medical equipment. Whether they had the intention or not, we learned early on that we would place these containers without any kind of marketing at all, and individuals would arrive to a landfill with the intention of throwing away this equipment. So we learned early on that we played a direct role in diverting this from landfills. On the other hand, we market to older adult facilities like nursing homes, assisted livings, independent livings, CCRCs, oftentimes where older adults are living. When those individuals pass, or if they move out for any reason, oftentimes the family leaves all the equipment at the facility. The facility's basement often fills up with, tens of walkers and hospital beds, and they need their valuable space back. And all they can do in short time is buy a roll off and throw it away. So instead we say, call us, we'll come pick up all that equipment, bring it back to our warehouse and reuse it. On the other hand, we can make direct residential curbside pickups to pick up some of those larger items that are difficult to transport, like power wheelchairs, power scooters, and home hospital beds. After all the equipment is collected, whether it's directly by us or at a landfill site, we transport all the equipment back to our warehouse where it's processed. And then when it's ready to go after processing, we're able to distribute the equipment either here at our main location or to make it more accessible to residents across the state. We've partnered with other institutions. So these are denoted by the yellow icons here. These are what we call our satellite sites. These are partner institutions, various nonprofits or government organizations who we work with, where we'll transport the equipment to as a more convenient location to pick up the equipment. So for example, if a Baltimore City resident calls and they say, I could really use a wheelchair and a shower chair, we'll identify the appropriate size and type of wheelchair and shower chair, make sure it's fit for them. We'll then transport it up to our Baltimore City site where they can go to pick up the equipment there rather than having to come all the way down to Southern Maryland to attain the equipment. Now, as I mentioned, the environmental impact, we didn't realize that we'd have this impact before, but now with just over 2 years of operation, we've collected over 17,000 pieces of durable medical equipment, weighing over 545,000 pounds and occupying the space of 231,000 cubic feet. And as a way to, one of the ways we like to visualize this is that as a state program, we like to turn everything into data and make it as digestible as possible. Our way of doing that is comparing it to what most people know, which is square footage of a house or cubic footage. So we take the cubic footage of a standard 3-bedroom home, a standard 3-bedroom home in Maryland, and we determine how many of those homes we could fill. So we took the cubic footage of the equipment that we've collected, and we say, if you picture a 3-bedroom home in Maryland, and if you picture filling every single room in that home from floor to ceiling with durable medical equipment, we'd be able to fill 15 homes at this time now. So if you can picture essentially the space occupied by 15 homes underground, that's a good way for us to make the comparison. So that's where we are now. Now, once all equipment is brought to our reuse center, our main location, it undergoes our sanitation, inspection, and repair process, and then it's stored until distribution. Our sanitation process, we often get questions on it, and because this is medical equipment, it's also often sensitive equipment, or it's going to individuals with compromised immune systems. We often get a lot of questions about our sanitation procedures and ensuring that they're up to national standards. So we're always happy to share those. Just a little bit about it. We created our sanitation process during the height of the pandemic, really when we still didn't have a good idea about COVID-19 and safety precautions. So we had the highest level of fears. We created our procedures with those high level of fears, and we're maintaining those procedures ongoing. The first is that there's a strict delineation between sanitized and unsanitized equipment through the whole process. So there's no mixing of clean and dirty equipment. And then it undergoes our thorough 3-step process. The first being that all equipment is sprayed with the disinfectant, so it's safe for our staff to handle. Then all equipment is power washed just to get any large debris off of it. And then it undergoes a full cycle in a hub scrub. A hub scrub is pictured here. It's specifically a machine that's similar to a car wash designed to clean and disinfect durable medical equipment. Each cycle is a 6-minute cycle. We can fit a full expanded bariatric manual wheelchair inside, but essentially it's a 3-minute cycle of a high pressure spray system that uses water and a disinfectant to clean and disinfect equipment. and then a 3-minute UV light cycle with 6 UV lights. So we can also break down the cycles and just do one or the other. So we can even for that for the non-waterproof equipment like power wheelchairs, we can hand clean all the equipment that we can get to, and then we can put it inside just for a dry UV cycle to clean and disinfect the equipment. Following sanitation, the equipment's dried and then moved to our repair room, where it's inspected for safety and general function. So we actually have a DME technician who is trained specifically on how to inspect and repair durable medical equipment. He will do anything from, replacing the rubber tip, the bottom of a cane that makes contact with the ground, or replacing the rubber tips on a walker, to replacing power wheelchair batteries, swapping out leg rests, arm rests, etc. And even if a device is not functional, we'll still break down that equipment, cannibalize it, keep those parts, whether it's a whole wheel or just a bearing or a nut and bolt, and we'll keep those as an inventory. That way we can use those parts to construct other fully functional devices and minimize our waste at the same time. And on the other end, we provide our equipment back to Maryland residents free of charge. We serve any Maryland resident with any illness, injury, or disability, regardless of their age. Though we're the Department of Aging, we serve pediatrics all the way through older adults. We do not income test. All we essentially require is that they're a Maryland resident and that they complete one of our request forms. For some more the advanced equipment, we require that a portion of the form be completed by a healthcare provider just to make sure they're getting the right equipment and there's the right follow-up training if that's what they need on the equipment. But essentially just a request form to be completed to receive the equipment. We then match it to the individual based on what we have on our inventory, and then it's dispersed through one of our various distribution sites around the state. And rather than a funny story, just wanted to show you a few of the individuals we help. This is what it all really comes down to in the end. Luis here. Luis had a spinal cord injury, so he has no function from his waist down. He has been using for decades a manual wheelchair, which means he used his arms to propel the manual wheelchair. But over decades of use, his shoulders started breaking down and he had significant pain. He could no longer propel himself. Tried to get a replacement or a upgrade to a power wheelchair through insurance, but there's often a 5-year wheelchair rule, which means if you received any kind of wheelchair within 5 years, you can't get a replacement until you hit that 5-year mark. So he was out of luck and couldn't work or leave his home until then. But we were able to get him a power wheelchair, which he can take on the bus. He now returned to work and he can live independently. Jacina in the middle, she had been using, she could only had access to a bariatric manual wheelchair for an adult, which means a wheelchair that's extra wide for a larger adult, meaning that she couldn't even reach the push rims by herself. So she relied on friends or a caregiver at school just to get from class to class or to her locker. And we were able to give her a smaller manual wheelchair. And you can see if her smile and her hand on the hip don't tell, she feels a lot more confident now. And Marcia has been a long time power wheelchair user. She called us the day before. She said, "This is my first vacation in 4 years." And she called us the day before and said, "My power wheelchair stopped working. Insurance won't replace it again for the same 5-year or repair it." So within the same 24 hours, we were able to get her a wheelchair. So she was able to go on vacation. And in this power wheelchair, it actually allowed her to elevate so she could see over the railing at the beach and see the ocean for the first time. So just a few great stories I wanted to share with you. And lastly, MRN, thanks so much for having us and letting us share. If you know of anyone who may wish to donate or receive durable medical equipment, here's our contact info, and happy to answer any questions at the conclusion.
Excellent. Ian, thank you very much. Really appreciate the presentation. And last but absolutely not least, we have Nancy Hotchkiss from Scrappy Moore. Nancy?
Okay, we're going to see if we can do this. Boom. And yes. From beginning. Okay, I am at the other end of the scale.
And you want to click on from beginning.
There you go. Got it.
So you want to click on the from beginning slideshow.
Are you not seeing it?
We're seeing the editing version.
Okay. That's weird because I'm seeing the whole one.
Are you running 2 screens?
I do not have 2 screens, but
okay, so
let's try this. Does that help?
There we go. Beautiful.
Okay. Hi, I'm Nancy Hotchkiss. I'm director for Scrap Be More, which we are at the other end of the scale. We are the very small stuff that you want to save. We are a creative reuse center, and we are part of a nonprofit network that actually, the nonprofit is based in Portland, Oregon, and There are scraps in various cities around the country. Right now we are 4. There were 6 pre-pandemic, but we lost a couple. And we are each state affiliates for this network. We really have, similar to you all, a 3-pronged mission. First one is sustainability, keeping things out of the landfill. Ian, your stuff was really cool with the houses. We compare ours to animals. We have diverted, since we opened in 2016, 47 tons, which is equal to 22 adult male giraffes. And that social math, if anybody is not using that, that's a real great way to help people understand the volume of stuff and give a face or a door or something to it so they can picture it. So keeping things out of the landfill. Ours is also creativity, thinking about how else to use these materials. Yes, it may have had an original purpose, but what else could you do with it? So we spend a lot of time in the day going, I don't know, that could work. Let's try it. And then for us, accessibility is a big issue. Accessibility by price, because the art should never be so expensive that you can't be involved. And also in location. We're in the South Baltimore area where there really aren't a lot of places to buy any kind of arts or crafts materials. And in the city, they often talk about grocery deserts. I tend to think about, art supply deserts. There really just aren't anything unless you want to go to the dollar store. Let's see if we go up. So this is our tiny little place. We are only 2,000 square feet, which is fine. That's all we need. And we're in an old garage that was renovated for us. And we are all the small stuff, the art stuff. We have fabric and yarn and jewelry and, things like that. Oh, there, I already did my giraffe, sorry. And we also can do it to milk, 10,930 gallons of milk, because people are carrying gallons of milk around. They would know what that is. So what kind of materials do we take? It's in the arts, the smaller stuff. We are not taking the big stuff at all. And all of our donations right now are coming in from individual homes. We are not going to businesses. Again, we're a small place. And there is, America's buying problem. Let's just talk about it, that people buy way too much and then things are packaged in ways that you don't necessarily need it all. Like if I just want a couple of pom-poms or pipe cleaners, why do I have to buy a package of 100? So we get materials from people when they are cleaning their house, when they're downsizing, often when they're changing from one craft to another. I had one woman that, pardon me, came in, she must have been 80 years old, and she had brought us a huge bag of all of her knitting needles and giant bags of yarn and said, I have been knitting for 50 years. I want to learn to play the piano. Please take this. So we get stuff like that. We get stuff. And then ultimately when somebody has passed away and they're cleaning the house out and, somebody in the household was a crafter and they find closets and closets of fabric, sewing machines, yarns, jewelry making stuff. So that's the kind of things that come here. We also get things when parents have finally realized that their kids are in college and they don't need to hang on to the drawer full of pom-poms, pipe cleaners, and Google Eyes. So right now, just so if anybody's interested, we're bringing in donations only 1 day a week. That's about all we can handle. And that step is really important for us. We tell people it's by appointment. It's really just to get on a list, but that helps us walk people through what it is we can take and who else could take their materials. We don't like saying no. We want to be able to say, we can't take it. However, this group and this group, and you guys have now sent me so much great information. Now I know who to send them to. We do always have other bins going in the store for materials that come in through donations that we know we can't take. For instance, we don't take curtains, tablecloths, we don't take clothing. We tell people this, but it still sometimes makes its way in. So that goes into our bin that goes to our local Goodwill. Yay. So anyway, so that's what we go through. There's our website for material donations. And I'm just going to walk you through some of the fun things that we do with the stuff that comes in. We try and, boy, I can tell you, put anything in a tennis ball container with bright colors and it will sell. We make scrap to go kits, which are basically miscellaneous bits and pieces. And the idea is it's a can of creativity, dump it out, kid, and make something. We take a lot of the fabric scraps that aren't yardage and make dog toys. That is a picture of my lovely dog with her toy, which lasted 3 months. And any of you who know dogs know 3 months with a toy is pretty darn good. We got lots of paper crafts. So we'll do, collage packs or pen pal packs. Sometimes people are just not thinking as much on their own. So we're trying to give them more ideas. In February, we did a little social media campaign on 28 days of creative reuse, putting out new ideas all the time. I love this heart with color pencils. That's from our sister store in Portland, Oregon. And we were just giving people ideas. What else can you do? That's the whole thing. What else can you do with it? Yes, these materials can get recycled, but before you recycle it, what else could you do? For instance, this is not our installation, but this is one that I love. Somebody had done an entire wall of plants with 2-liter bottles. Everything that's made out of metal can become a tiny robot. We put together little robot kits using coffee cans or the bigger coffee cans, encouraging people to think about ways to use even the food waste pieces like plastic spoons, corks, make your own little army of minions. And then other plastic containers. We like to take CDs and help kids turn them into bugs or, put lots of dots and things on them. Even reusing crayons, remelting them and creating new crayons out of it. And I will say this one is one of my personal favorites. The idea of taking plastic bags. I'm not going to take it away from the other project at the Goodwill, I think, but turning it into plarn, which is basically plastic yarn that can be crocheted to make other things. The woman in the lower picture, that was from a project that we'd heard about, that they're making sleeping mats for the homeless. It's a 6-foot by 3-foot mat. It keeps you up off of the ground, so you're away from the cold and the moisture. And if it disappears, somebody else uses it, well, you can get another one. So that is the scrap store as fast as I can do it, because I realize we are good on time. If anyone has any questions, you can send them to me in the chat box. And I invite you, we're open Wednesday through Sunday right now. And we are totally, except for myself and 2 part-time people, totally volunteer dependent. And we love our volunteers. We got an army of about 40 of them.
That's great stuff, Nancy. Thank you very much. And for those of you who have not seen it, every year, the Maryland Department of the Environment has a recycling sculpture contest. Nancy, you may have attended at some point or other where they invite all the local schools to have their students present sculptures made strictly from recycled materials. And of course, a lot of what we just saw there from Nancy looks a lot like the things we would see at the recycled sculpture contest at the Maryland Department of the Environment. So very cool stuff. So a number of questions were posted, and thank you all for those of you who've been able to hang in there. So one of a couple of questions probably would go to Leslie, to you, around when people donate stuff, particularly the new stuff. What prompts Home Depot to say, here's some new stuff, and who's making money off this? Do they give this to you at no charge, or how's that work?
Yeah, so on the company donor end of things, companies will generate what they consider a trash product. It could have some minor damage. They might need the space. Packaging might change. There's a variety of reasons why product winds up in a company's waste stream. So if it's still usable, we'll obviously want that product. And I'm looking over at some of the questions. So on the Home Depot side, that may stop at a moment. We've always tried to make connections with their returns departments. We have an agreement that we will make sure every barcode is lined out so that things can't get returned to the stores. So there has to be some element of trust too. So that's a big issue. On the doors donation, what I've noticed is if the door is not perfect, they can't distribute it for full cost. Some of the hardware might be missing, not a big deal. These are just wood slabs for the most part. Some of the boxes around some of their other products might be damaged, so I think it's cheaper for them to just dispose of it. as opposed to trying to get 10 cents on a dollar. So that I've been with the loading dock since 1989, and that's always been the case. And newer donations have not been as frequent as it ebbs and flows.
Okay. David Hollins, you had asked about parking lot paving resources, and I don't know if that's strictly a Leslie thing or anybody else might have some thoughts about where that could be tapped into. Are you talking about asphalt or?
Yeah, hi, Dave Hans, fantastic presentations, by the way. I love all the presentations, but yeah, I'm just thinking of some schools here in the Baltimore area that have parking lot issues, a lot of, potholes and this and that, and not sure if maybe it's a creative way to remedy that. That's a little bit lower cost than actually having a contractor come in and scrape and re-pour everything, which would be exponentially more expensive. So didn't know if any of the different resources on this call or presenters, I'm sorry, on this call know of any resources that might be available for that kind of thing.
We've done a lot of our own asphalt work, and millings is a cheaper option than asphalt, but I don't think you can get away from having to pay someone with equipment to put it in properly, unfortunately.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And sometimes the larger paving companies, if you let them know there's a need at the end of a big job, and if you're willing to be flexible, that could be an opportunity.
It's a great idea. Thank you.
So there's a question here that might actually be for everyone. For those of you who are familiar with it, there's this thing called the Maryland Recycling Act, and it has a reporting function in it, and they count the things that are quote unquote recycled. And the question I think originally was for Ian. Is DME reported through the MRA? Does anyone else have their materials reported through the Maryland Recycling Act?
I don't think we do.
We don't directly work with the Maryland Recycling Act, but I know with each of our county landfills, when we will, they'll tear our truck when it comes in and then weigh it when it comes out, and they will independently count that as we pull our equipment out of there. Essentially, we're just using their space for placing the container. So we don't directly through the state, but I assume that with that data, each county at the landfills use them.
Anybody else?
When we were collecting from the landfills on a regular, it was very similar to what Ian just said, but we don't aggregate everything that comes through the building and report it.
And Ian, sort of another question around the DME issue is: this stuff is for sale, free? How do people?
All equipment free of charge. I'm happy to share after, but 240-230-8000. Anyone can call anytime to learn how to access equipment, but all equipment's free of charge. I don't want to go into too much detail, but just because it can take some time, but please reach out if you know anyone who might need it, but all free of charge and happy to find a way to get it to them.
Okay. And Amy, you asked a question about getting a program started, but I wasn't sure which program you were referring to. Are you still on?
Yeah. It was about the creative reuse. Thanks for asking.
Sure. So Nancy, are you going to start an office in Montgomery County now?
There actually was a woman who started with us as a volunteer in Silver Spring who was trying to start Silver Spring Creative Reuse. I have no idea what stage she is at because she was still operating out of her house pre-COVID, but I'm sure everyone on this call would agree. If you're going to start something like this, get a co-director. Never try and do this on your own, because I did. Yeah, I mean, find your network, find your support group. But I'm happy to talk with you offline if you want to talk about the process we went through here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So this has been very interesting. As I said at the beginning of the presentation, we're really looking at all 3 R's. And as for anybody who's been to a landfill on a Saturday afternoon and seen all the homeowners driving up, getting ready to dump stuff into the landfill, and you're looking at that going, hold a second here, that's got a life beyond the dumpster over there. Is there a way we can change that conversation? And I think our goal here is to help the entire Maryland recycling community be aware of these different opportunities and figure out if there's some partnerships available that we haven't perhaps tapped into as deeply as we can to ensure that these materials do in fact get that second, third, fourth life, or that reuse option that perhaps wasn't considered in the first place. So I really want to, first of all, a big round of applause for all of our presenters. Great job from all. And we'll remind everybody, and I'm gonna go back to my screen for a second here, just to keep this going. At the end of our hour and then some, so thank you all who have hung around, and remind you again to mark your calendars for our next webinar on Thursday, April 27th with Upstream and Don't Waste Durham. I'm trying to queue up a webinar for May around glass processing. We've got a couple of folks that we're trying to get lined up, and we'll let you know about that. And then, of course, for those of you who have not yet done so, please be sure to register for the conference on June 12th at Turf Valley Conference Center. Going to be a fantastic event. And as always, if you're not a member, we really encourage you to support the Maryland Recycling Network by getting involved and signing up today. Here's our website link. And we encourage you to get involved with all these other organizations that obviously depend very heavily on volunteer help. So anybody who wants to raise their hand for any of these guys, this webinar will be posted on our website probably by Monday at the latest. We'll provide links to all of their locations. So if you want to sign up and help out in any way, shape, or form, please do so. So with that, I invite everyone to go have lunch or take the afternoon off, do whatever you want to do, go for a hike, or go back to work if that is the case. So thank you very much. And thank you once again to all of our presenters. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys.
Everyone. Great.
Thank you.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
Great job.